So this is Hendry's Beach in Santa Barbara. This is my favorite beach. And as you can see, it's almost November and it's still warm here in Santa Barbara. I brought you to this beach because I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's so important to me about this fracking ban and why it matters. Santa Barbara is a place of amazing natural physical beauty. I first came here in 1992 to go to UC Santa Barbara, and that decision to come to UC Santa Barbara is foundational to the rest of my adult life. It's here in Santa Barbara that I met my husband. We bought our first house here. We've lived here for the majority of my adult life, raising our children here. First discovered my call to ministry here on this beach in Santa Barbara. So this place means a lot to me. And Santa Barbara has had oil production for a long time. For over 100 years we've been doing traditional oil production because we have a lot of natural seepage. And I don't know if you can see it as I walk along the beach, but here's a spot here you might be able to see. If you look at the ground, you can see there's a lot of black in the sand, and that's actually naturally seeped up tar. So there's rich oil deposits here. And off in the distance, it's a little hazy today, next to the islands you'll see different oil production, offshore oil production. So there's a lot that goes on here, and it's an important place to protect because there's not that many places on earth that are pristine like this. And I think that there's value in just protecting this kind of beauty and landscape. So what's been surprising to you?
Yeah, so Santa Barbara is the birthplace of the environmental movement, and we are known as a liberal and progressive community. And it has been surprising to see the number of people who are for no on P, who want fracking to occur. I sometimes lose sight of the power of corporate advertising and how big money can come in and change things, and how money corrupts minds, and it's really very upsetting. There have been several politicians that I count on who haven't been there, people that I work with and support in a lot of ways who were really afraid of this issue. The Independent, which is our local news weekly, which is known as a voice of conscience, of progressive thinking in our community, also said no on P. It's been very upsetting. We're down to the next 2 weeks, and it's scary. It's really scary, and I hope that we do the right thing.
Tell me a little bit about why you got involved in the fracking ban in Santa Barbara.
I think that climate change is the most important issue facing humanity, and that the window of opportunity to get things right is very short.
My generation is the 60s, and my generation was supposed to save the world, but what we really did was just make a lot of money and screw up the earth some more. So now that I'm retired, I've decided I need to work on things to turn this global warming and climate change issue around.
What did you feel about the Independent coming out against the Yes on P folks and endorsing the No on P side?
Well, I can tell you how I found out. I was canvassing. I knocked on the door. A young woman answered the door. She actually had in her hand 2 absentee ballots that her and her boyfriend had just filled out, and she was going to mail them. And she saw my button to vote yes on P, and she said, "Oh, I voted yes on P, even though the Independent came out against it." That's how I found out. My jaw dropped, and my partner Carol was with me. And after that meeting with that young woman, I walked to the curb, and I couldn't focus anymore. I was so upset. I was very upset about it. I felt like I'd been stabbed in the back. But then I thought, well, it took me about a half an hour to get back going again.
So I decided to start talking to people about it, and I was really curious who was interested in what. So I got a lot of negative feedback from people who had business interest in seeing that go forward, and I got skeptical feedback from people who just hadn't heard much about it, but it sounded like I was being maybe dramatic, and so it caused me to go learn even more and try to look at who's supporting what side and why. And really what I came to is that the people who were supporting the ban on fracking didn't have any financially anything to gain, but were driven by caring for our community, and that there was, people on the other side had financial things to gain. And so I just thought, well, it's worth telling the stories of what's happened for other people and communities where fracking has happened. And some of those stories are really sad. And instead of just being quiet about it, I felt like, well, I'll talk about it when it arises, because I don't want to, I love Santa Barbara, I love where I live, so I don't want it to turn into some place that is got maybe air that isn't as clean or water that isn't clean. Just not worth it. The risks seem really, really high. But I do think there's a lot of sides of the issue. I think it's like connects up globally in terms of why we need cheap oil, and that our whole military runs on oil. I mean, I don't want to be asleep to the world's strategies around oil and what we're going for. But I also think Santa Barbara is a really special, precious place and worth protecting. So I'm going to say yes on P, and I'll keep telling people that.